Story 1. Accidentally got deodorant in my mouth once. Not only does it not taste as good as it smells, but the antiperspirant sucks all the moisture from your tongue, which is a really unpleasant experience. Story 2. It has to be that rotten, chocolate-covered strawberry I ate on Valentine's Day years ago. They had been left on the counter overnight, but they still looked so delicious on the outside. The betrayal was foul. Story 3. Once, I was talking outdoors, and somehow a mosquito landed perfectly in such a way that it caught my top and bottom teeth and exploded. That was worse than the time I bit into a glow stick. Story 4. When I was a little kid, it was my job to throw away my dad's old beer cans and get him a fresh beer from the fridge. I would always take the last sip out of every one of those mostly empty beer cans until I got the one my dad had been using as an ashtray. Beer and cigarette ash are not good. Story 5. When I was in elementary school, my mom packed me a lunch consisting of a sandwich, grapes, and a couple of Oreos as a snack. To this day, I have no idea why I did this, but I decided to eat a grape and an Oreo at the same time. I like grapes and I like Oreos, but let me just say there's a good reason grape Oreos don't exist. Story 6. Drank from a spitter once, also known as a bottle people use to spit when using chewing tobacco. The sensation of viscous saliva and the bite of chemicals and grainy bits of tobacco was extremely unpleasant, rating -1,000 out of 10. Story 7. I once bought a Danish pastry from a food truck. It was in a wrapper, and I didn't pull the Danish all the way out to eat it, instead pushing a little bit out to take a bite. The wrapper was also covered in the brand of the Danish, making it hard to see. I took a couple of bites and thought it tasted odd. Finally, I looked down and saw I had been eating a very moldy Danish. I threw up on the spot. I'll never forget the taste of mold spores. Story 8. Grabbed a milk carton from my work cafeteria during my lunch. Expiration date said it was good for another week. Opened it and took a big gulp of the most foul-tasting chunky sludge I've ever had. Spit it out and nearly threw up in the trash can. I don't care about expiration dates anymore. I always smell my milk first now. Absolutely vile. Story 9. I was the executive chef at a brewery. The brewer and I got close, and we'd always talk about flavor profiles in beer and what to pair them with. We'd try new products like hops and malts raw first together to make decisions about the beer and food. Well, he got in this hop gel that was concentrated, and after going back and forth on whether we should really try it on its own, fully knowing what to expect, I grabbed 2 toothpicks and just poked them in. You couldn't even see any of the hop concentrate on the toothpick. It was such a small amount. We cheered, counted to 3, and popped the toothpicks in our mouths. It was easily the most bitter thing I have ever tasted, and he started gagging. We both sat there dry, heaving for about 5 minutes, chugging water to try to wash out the taste. The taste lingered for 2 days. I don't know how that taste stayed after brushing my teeth and tongue, using mouthwash, shots of bourbon, beers, and milk. Nothing got rid of it, and it was truly awful. The next day, we got the 3 servers to do it after service. It was hilarious. Story 10. Apparently, some people can taste intravenous drips, and I learned that I am one of them. The medicine that was helping with my severe allergic reaction immediately started causing dry heaving from the taste. The nurse just shrugged it off and said it happens. Story 11. A little tame compared to others, but I'm going to say ejaculate. Really, like, what's with the taste and the smell and that spicy sensation? One would think that the end result of an erotic act would be a reward, not a punishment to have in your mouth. Story 12. Masado de yuca. It is a drink made by someone chewing up cassava, spitting it out, and then letting it sit until it ferments. Some people swear by it, but I am not one of them. I will also add a close runner-up, tokash. It is made by putting potatoes in a sack, burying them near a river, then coming back 4 months to 2 years later, digging them up, and mixing them into a hot jelly. It smells like feces and tastes like a watered-down version of the smell of feces. Story 13. I went down on my then-girlfriend for the first time, and I guess she had a yeast infection. I'm going to town, and suddenly I get this lumpy, gooey clump in my mouth. It felt like a wet, slimy lump of newspaper and tasted like phlegm from a diseased throat. It disturbed me for a while. Story 14. One time when I was in middle school, my friends and I mixed together all our leftovers at the buffet we were at. Pasta, brownies, ice cream, ranch dressing, ketchup, clam chowder, and more, and dared me to eat it for $1. I scooped the slop up with a spoon and put it in my mouth. Then, I gagged and almost threw up all over the table. So, probably that. Story 15. In my household, we are not allowed to throw things from the fridge out. We had tuna casserole one night, which we had 2 months prior. I took leftovers out of the fridge and ate them. It was the leftovers from 2 months ago, and I was seeing stars, ascending the heavens, and being dragged to hell all at once. I can still taste it if I think about it too much. Would not wish it on my worst enemy. Story 16. Cod liver oil capsule. My mother loves fishy, oily tastes and said I should just suck the capsule. I did. When it finally popped, I very, very nearly vomited and was horrified by my mom's taste. Story 17. Marmite. Specifically, stir-fried chicken in Marmite. I hate to waste food, but this is legitimately one of the few times I had to leave it after several bites. I'm glad I didn't throw up on the spot. Story 18. Beverly. That drink at the Coca-Cola factory. If you've had it, never ever again, and I seriously can't believe that was a real soft drink sold in Italy. Story 19. One time I got a McChicken, and when I bit into it, there was nothing in it but tons of mayonnaise. To this day, I cannot eat at McDonald's, and I get chills of horror whenever I see mayonnaise. Story 20. Abscess tooth ruptured. Tasted and smelled like liquid death. The dentist and his assistant were gagging, and the assistant vomited. I'm still amazed I didn't throw up as well. Story 21. I had a bad flea infestation when I had a cat. I placed a glass of water by my bed with dishwashing liquid mixed in to catch fleas. I woke up and was half asleep still and thought it was my water and drank some. Delicious dishwashing liquid and some dead fleas. My throat burned for weeks. Story 22. Squid ink mayonnaise. It was served in a wonderful burger joint where the owners even made their own pickles. The mayonnaise, supposedly for my French fries, tasted something like super concentrated green beans. Story 23. Wish I was joking, but one time I went down on a guy and he finished in my mouth. The taste was abhorrent and was like battery acid. I literally gagged and spat it back up. It lingered so badly that once I got home, I had to brush my teeth and wash my mouth out 5 times for it to go. Story 24. My grandmother used to buy spices from the bulk section of the market. Cloves and chili powder look very similar when in unmarked plastic bags. She made chili with cloves. It was vile. Story 25. Recently, some coffee tasted like swamp water. It was almost as bad as the actual swamp water I accidentally swallowed. Okay, my answer is swamp water. Story 26. Dexmethylphenidate, better known as a type of ADHD medication. That stuff makes me gag even if I don't taste it while taking my pill. So awful, I hate it. I hate it. Story 27. I had a urinary tract infection when I was a teen. I had a fear of swallowing pills, so I was prescribed a liquid concoction that I had to take 4 spoonfuls of multiple times a day. It tasted like burnt plastic, and needless to say, I learned to swallow pills so I could avoid that experience again. Story 28. I'm quite lucky in that I've never accidentally drunk from an ashtray soda can or anything like that. But I do live in Japan, and there are plenty of really disgusting foods that Japanese people absolutely universally love, and I can't understand it. Examples include raw everything. Not just sushi or sashimi, which I've grown to appreciate over the years, but for example, there's raw horse liver popular in Kyushu that tastes exactly like a bloody nose. And they'll just casually serve you any other kind of completely raw meat without warning as if it's perfectly normal. Or there's the fish sperm, shirako, that's a popular part of any sushi or sashimi meal. Nobody thinks it odd for even a moment that they're chowing down on fish sperm. It's so normal to them that if they serve it to you, they won't even have the courtesy to tell you that's what it is. It just doesn't seem worth mentioning. It's just fish. Then there's all the snot foods that are sticky, slimy, and runny. The Japanese just love anything sticky, slimy, and runny, and it doesn't seem to make them gag, although it should. They go out of their way to make otherwise perfectly good food into something as slimy as possible because they honestly think that's better, and they so don't expect you not to appreciate it to the same degree that sometimes it's the only thing on the menu, and, of course, there's no warning. You eat it or go hungry. And of course, I have to mention eggs. Eggs are considered best raw. Raw egg is added to anything and everything. Again, they ruin otherwise perfectly good food by breaking a raw egg over it, expecting you to be pleased. Lots of Western-style egg dishes are popular in Japan with the caveat that the eggs in the Japanese version will be as uncooked as possible. But the absolute worst of the worst is, by far, natto, basically rotten soybeans, and it's the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my life. Natto has it all. It tastes like raw fermented garbage that you recovered from the trash bin after it's been sitting on the curb for a week in August. And it's extremely slimy. The slime is literally the bacterial growth that forms on the beans as they rot. Finally, it smells just as bad as it tastes. And what's the universal ultimate soul food for Japanese people? Natto and raw egg on rice. It literally makes me throw up in my mouth just thinking about it. Yet Japanese people will happily scarf it down right in front of you in a disgusting multimedia display complete with the sounds, smells, and visibility. But the real kicker is that between a third to a half of foreigners claim that they like it, and I have absolutely no idea how or why that's even possible. Story 29. I used to suck my thumb. My mom used one of those nail polishes that made it taste really bad if I tried to put my thumb in my mouth. I remember waking up after instinctively putting my thumb in my mouth and almost crying because it tasted so bad. I was spitting onto the floor for about an hour trying to get the taste out. Story 30. Any liquid medication. The texture and taste of it make me gag and almost throw up. Specifically, Gaviscon. Just thinking about it is making me sick. On a more obscure level, blood. I don't know how people do it. Sucking their finger if they get a paper cut or something. I can't stand the taste of it. I had a dental appointment once, and I threw up in the sink because of the amount of blood there was. The assistant wasn't doing a good job in rinsing. Blood tastes absolutely disgusting. Story 31. Skunk spray. My mastiff thought she made a new friend, and since it rained the night prior, the grass was slick, so I was sliding on my face towards something in the dark. Suddenly, she stops, and then I feel this semi-warm spray hit my face and go into my mouth. For a second, I genuinely thought she sneezed in my face. But then the smell began, and I knew right away how bad it would be for weeks to come. The taste was similar to burning rubber layered with burning hair and a dash of putrescine. Story 32. I took Paxlovid when I had COVID. It has a metallic flavor much like sucking on pennies. All my food tasted like metal the whole time I took the course of pills. Story 33. I soaked Sour Patch watermelon in watermelon vodka for a week. I thought it would be a fun experience like Docarian. My God, that texture was unpleasant. Story 34. Durian fruit. It was especially bad because I was expecting it to taste more like a sweet pineapple or something. God, it's awful. I know some people love it, but I don't know how. Story 35. Dip spit, baby puke, or spit up. Food-wise, I ate a sample of seafood salad at Sam's Club once when I was about 12. I thought it would taste more like crab or fish. I did not expect to put cold mayonnaise in my mouth with just a little imitation crab. I spat it out everywhere. In adulthood, probably Jaeger. Story 36. My school has these Trix pancake things, and I had saved one as a snack. When I pulled it out of the cabinet, it tasted like someone put a skunk gland, cat spray, rotten milk, and horseradish in it. I got sick so badly. Story 37. College times, there was a chocolate pudding with part of the expiration date missing. I ate it for a $20 bet. I really wish I hadn't. It was horribly bitter and filthy tasting. I was locked in the toilet for 2 hours afterward. Story 38. Turmeric in warm milk. I was very congested and sick with a cold and could not stop coughing. My partner was being very sweet and looked up a cough suppressant recipe. However, he got the ratio wrong, and instead of 2 teaspoons into a cup of warm milk, he put 2 tablespoons. It was like drinking an ashtray, and I still get the gag reflex whenever I see or smell turmeric being used in food. It did actually work as a cough suppressant, though. Story 39. I've always been a guy that likes eating eggs in all forms. Fried, boiled, scrambled, whatever. Then I got COVID and lost my taste buds for around 2 years. Weirdly enough, the taste started coming back in parts. The one thing that took the longest to come back was actually eggs. The first time I tasted an egg with my not yet full tasting power, it tasted like you would try to consume some random food you put into your backpack years ago and forgot about. Absolutely disgusting. Story 40. Sea turtle. It seriously tastes like fishy pork chops. It's commonly eaten at celebrations in the country I was living in. It was offered to me and I tried to politely refuse. I was pulled aside by my local friend and told I would offend my hosts if I did so. So I did the whole when in Rome thing and ate some. Not even close to appetizing to my palate. Another very bad experience was shrimp sauce in a Filipino dish. I seriously love eating shrimp, so I was super excited to eat my friend's special shrimp dish from her province. I heaped a big serving on my plate during a double date I was at. I was gagging on the inside as I choked down each bite. No offense to anyone who enjoys shrimp sauce, but to me it was actually worse than the sea turtle. Tasted like rot and decomposition. On the flip side, I arrived at a child's birthday party late to be told the hosts saved the last of the bloody for me. The dish is pig's blood boiled in the entrails, chopped finely. I tried to refuse, but again was told it would be an insult. It was actually delicious. Coppery blood gelatin with a yummy pork taste. I know, it sounds not very great, but it was actually super yummy.